Porsche, a name that brings images of sports cars, status, and racing to mind. Porsche has had a vast racing career and been involved in many forms of motorsport. It might be a surprise, but Porsche was once a part of the pinnacle of motorsport, F1. With rumors of new teams potentially joining the grid, is there a chance of Porsche taking a slot on the grid? Potentially, but first, let's take a look at the time Porsche has already spent in F1. Porsche's journey to F1 starts in 1961. After spending a couple years in F2 with success, Porsche decided it was time to take the leap and enter F1. They would enter a modified version of their former F2 car, the Porsche 718. It was modified to be open wheel and had the Porsche 547 engine, a 1.5-liter flat 4 developed by Ernest Furman. The F1 rule at the time was all engines had to be naturally aspirated and could not exceed 1.5-liter capacity. This restrictive rule didn't hinder all teams, as Ferrari somehow managed to make a 1.5-liter displacement V12, making them a top contender for the season. Before we talk about the season, the F1 points rule at the time was different than we know today. Unlike the current F1 point system, in the old system, the top race finishers got points going from 8 to 6 to 4 to 3 to 2 to 1, with no fastest lap point given. Each team's Constructors' Championship points were only for the top-scoring driver on each team for any race. Porsche would have American Dan Gurney and Swedish Joe Bonnier to be driving for the 1961 season. Dan Gurney would have a great season with Porsche, finishing in the points for 5 of his 8 races. His first race in Monaco, he finished 5th for 2 points. The third race in Belgium, 6th for 1 point. The fourth race in France, 2nd, the highest finish thus far for Porsche for 6 points. And his last 2 races in Italy and the United States, both 2nd for 6 points in each race. He finished the season with 21 points, leaving him tied for 3rd in the driver's standings. Joe Bonnier didn't have as good of a season, finishing in the points for only 2 of the 8 races he competed in. He placed 5th in Great Britain for 2 points and 6th in the United States for a single point, ending the season with 3 points, tied for 13th in the driver's standings. Porsche ended 3rd out of 5 teams that season with 22 points and had a top race finish of 2nd. Ferrari won the Constructors' Championship with 40 points, and Phil Hill for Ferrari won the Drivers' Championship with 34 points. Not a bad debut season for Porsche, and gave them plenty of hope for the season to come. 1962. For the 1962 season, Porsche introduced a 1.5-liter flat 8 to go in the Porsche 804 chassis. American Dan Gurney and Swedish Joe Bonnier would return to drive for Porsche with the addition of Dutch Carl Godin de Beaufort. This season there would be a change to the points awarded, being 9, 6, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Dan Gurney had a less than ideal season, finishing in the points for 3 of the 7 races he participated in. He did, however, get Porsche's highest finish ever, a race win in France for 9 points. He scored 3rd place in Germany for 4 points and 5th in the United States for 2 points. That gave Dan a total of 15 season points, 5th in the driver's standings. Joe Bonnier's previous season woes seemed to carry over, only scoring minimal points in 2 of the 7 races he participated in. He got 5th in Monaco for 2 points and 6th in Italy for only a single point, leaving him with 3 points, tied for 14th in the driver's standings. Carl Godin de Beaufort followed Joe's performance, scoring in only 2 of the 8 races he competed in. He got 6th in the Netherlands for a single point and 6th in France for a single point, tallying a whopping 2 points, 16th in the driver's standings. This left Porsche with 18 points on the season, finishing 5th in the middle of the pack of the constructors' standings. This finish was under Porsche's expectations, and with the financial burden of having an underperforming Formula One team, they decided to withdraw from the 1963 season. Some privateers would continue to use the outdated Porsche 718 in F1 up until 1964, but this wouldn't be the end for Porsche in Formula One. In 1983, Porsche made a return to Formula One, partnered with TAG, not as a race team, but as an engine supplier. Together they made a water-cooled turbocharged V6 engine. Initially, Porsche was hesitant to have their name on the engine if the project were to fail. That fear quickly faded after winning the first race of the season. This engine would be used from 1983 to 1987 to power McLaren's MP4/2 and MP4/3 until 1984 when McLaren switched to Honda as their engine supplier. The TAG Porsche engine wasn't the most powerful, but held its own, winning 2 Constructors' Championships in 1984 and 85, and 3 Drivers' Crowns in 1984, 85, and 86. Between 1983 to 1987, it powered McLaren to 25 race wins, 19 wins being for Alain Prost and 6 for Niki Lauda, 2 phenomenal racers that helped display the success of the engine. Porsche was very satisfied with their shared success with TAG and McLaren. They decided to step away from Formula One briefly as their partnership with TAG was ending. In 1991, after Porsche's previous success with engine manufacturing, they decided to enter back as an engine supplier, hoping to achieve the same success they did from the 1983 to 1987 seasons. The Porsche 3512 was a double V6 weighing a hefty 400 pounds. It was basically two TAG Porsche engines combined, minus the turbos. This extra weight and outdated engine would be anything but another call to glory. They'd be supplying the power unit going in the Footworks Aeros cars. This would be Porsche's worst attempt in Formula One, failing to score a single point or qualify for over half of the races that year. The main issues the Porsche 3512 faced was how heavy it was, a lack of power, and massive oil starvation that often led to engine failure. This failure of a season caused Footwork to drop Porsche as an engine supplier for Cosworth. Porsche has not been back to Formula One since. Future. Will Porsche make a comeback? Porsche did come close to closing a deal to join Red Bull for the 2026 season. Reportedly, the deal would have Porsche own 50% of Red Bull and be partners. The car would have been powered by a Porsche-developed engine. Unfortunately for Porsche, the deal fell through and Porsche is not registered as an engine supplier for the 2026 season yet, speculating they may be thinking twice about joining. There is an opportunity that they may join or collaborate with another engine supplier, like they did in the 1983 season with TAG. With all the misfortune Porsche's faced trying to rejoin Formula One, I'd say it's unlikely that it's going to work out. It is nice to dream, however, that we'll see a strong competitive team join and push the field. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed our video. If you have any videos you want us to cover, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. See you next time.